Hello, and welcome back to Tales from the Black Tower, where we try to have some fun playing solo D&D. I'm Body, and today we are sort of have a two-tiered approach to what we're doing for the next scene. For one, I want to resolve the research that Audentior is doing on the artifacts that he has, the boxes that he's doing at the temple to Saint Taragnus. And what I said at the end of the last episode was that the expected scene was Audentior finding out about Chain, that he has a similar or same box, and what he's going to do in reaction to that. But I think it's important because we've got the 6-day gap between when Audentior went to the temple and when Chain eventually did, that we need to figure out how that research goes. But first, you can find a list of the tools and systems I use in the description, and please like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. So Audentior with his research, I don't have a good system like right in my back pocket for doing this kind of exploratory sort of a skill check thing. I know Iron Sworn and Index Card RPG have these systems that use like boxes and stuff, and so that's what I'm going to sort of hopefully mimic a little bit. But my thought is that there's this overarching thing that he's trying to research, which is when I was brainstorming a little bit, called the mystery of the shards. And this is basically all the questions that would be associated with what these shards are, where they come from, what might they do, etc. And essentially, I think this would have, let's just some number. I think 10 is a good amount, but I think I'm going to have a system later on to figuring out when you're actually done. Like the more chunks you have, the lower the DC might be. But at the very least, we're starting with like 10 chunks, right? And then the way you fill these chunks in is you answer questions about the mystery. So we have a short list of questions that I think it makes sense that Audentior would have about these things. First of all, being like, what are they actually called? Second, being, what are the main sources of information on them? What are the primary texts? Another question might be, how many are there? And then we have questions like, where did they come from? What do they do? And so the idea, I think, would be each of these having their own set of completion blocks that once we complete one of these to a certain degree, then that can contribute to the overall quest. I think I'm going to stop drawing these because I think the way I think it would be interesting for this to be is to start at, say, a DC 20 for the difficulty in completing any of these items, but each, say, hash, right, that you do reduces the DC by 1. And I'm thinking 20 feels like it's a little low. So I'm going to start with DC 22. They're sort of arbitrary, just the way. I think that's a good starting point. That way, like, you really need to do a couple of these have a couple completions down these lines in order to have any real chance of completing them. And then once you have the completion, I think this is something that I think comes from Index Card RPG. Once you have the completion, then you roll a D4, D6, D8 based on the nature of the completion. And that tells you how many of the hash marks you gain. So for instance, I think, yeah. So and then each day has its own goal that you're doing the research towards. So you're only able to research one of these questions at a time in a day. And then if you succeed in that, then you contribute to the question. And then once the question is completed, you add a completion to the overall mystery. Let's see if we can work this out. by just doing one of the first day that Audentior is researching. So Audentior has an intelligence of 15, so he's got a +2. And I think the first question that he's going to be asking is related, not necessarily, I think the first, really the fundamental question is, what are the primary texts? So that's the first thing he's going to be going for. Where does he need to look in order to get this information? This is one of those things. I think it's going to be relatively easy because he's at the temple for Saint Taragnus. He's going to be able to be pointed in the right direction by the priests that are already there. So I'm going to give him advantage on the rolls in order to do this research to find out where those primary texts are. But let's just say for this first day, he's got a DC 15 intelligence check in order to try to make some progress on finding out what the sources he needs are. So with that, so he makes it with a 17. So he's just sort of brute forcing it. Actually, I didn't even need advantage there. And because he's not using any sort of magic or anything, it's just the D4 on how many hash marks he's getting. So he's getting three success marks. I don't have a better name for them right now. 3 success marks towards finding out what the primary texts are for researching this mystery on this first day. Now at the end of that day, because he's got 3, we take 3 from the 22, I think, in order to find a DC 19 to see if he's basically got that topic covered. So this is very unlikely that he succeeds at this, but I think there seems like there's a chance. Yeah, DC 19 with a +2 on his intelligence. So I got a 4, and he does not complete that. So we start day 2. Well, we've got 6 days, and we're going to go. He's completed day 1. Now, there was one thing that I thought about while I was brainstorming this that I forgot to do just then, is that I believe it's almost like treating each day like a scene when it comes to the GM emulator systems. But I think each day where he's trying to do research, but there's always the possibility for things to alter that research. Maybe the library is closed on a certain day and he has to research something else or try a different thing for that day, or there's something that happens that interrupts his ability to research that day. So what I'm planning on doing is using the neutral die for the 7D Oracle system that determines the expected scenes. So I just forgot that for day 1, not a big deal, but for day 2 we're going into that to see if there's something that changes or if there's something that interrupts his research on the second day. So a gold, oh man, I'm looking at the screen and I'm not sure if that shows up as a gold, but it's a gold side on the die, shows that yes, there was some sort of interrupt or adjustment to what he's planning on doing. And the gold, it being a no when it comes with the gold text, means it's an interrupt scene. So basically, the second day of when Audentior is trying to research, and we're going to figure this out, some random event happens, and this is the actual scene 7 that we're going into. Audentior did some research on some of the primary texts on the mystery of the shards, but day 2, when he gets to researching, maybe he actually sat down for a little while and was able to do some of that, but something interrupts him. And with the random event cards, we're going to be figuring out what that is at this point. So we have, I'm going to try something this time where basically I'm going to roll the 2d10s and the d8 before I even look at the card, just to see how that goes. So we've got 40, 8, and 2. So our random event is a quest hindrance. Okay. And with 40, that's a break for the action. 8 goes to aligned for the description. And for the subject of the random event, it is curiosity. So this really aligns well, I think, with what's happening in the story and the relevance to the event or to what Audentior is doing. But the question is, so something hinders the quest, and I think it's obvious that the quest that the event is referring to is the research into the mystery of the shards. But break aligned curiosity. Curiosity, well, what does it mean to break? Break can be like a shattering, right? Or break can be a rest. I think, or break, I think really I think we're sort of going on both definitions of break here, where because it's a quest hindrance, there's a shattering of Audentior's focus, and essentially he's not able to do the research on this day, and that there's a break that is aligned with the curiosity that he's showing for this topic. So I think that sounds like there was some sort of distraction in the temple that kept him from doing the research. So that means the thing that comes to my mind that I think seems pretty interesting is that I think what happened is he's looking for these primary references, primary texts relating to the mystery of the shards, and there was let's call it an ardent. I think that's a term from like 40K. It's an ardent who has authority over the library and manages it, who has a problem with how Audentior is doing his research and causes an interruption. So I think on the first day, maybe Audentior, we don't necessarily know why, but on the first day, Audentior sort of flew under the radar. He was just a guy in the library, pulling out some books, snooping around. But on the second day, this Ardent comes in and is like, Audentior, who are you? How are you? Why are you here? What are you looking up? I saw you here yesterday. It's like Audentior explains, I have a topic on some artifacts of Saint Tyragnis that I'm looking up, and the Ardent says, "Well, if you're going to be researching a topic like that with the old books, you're going to have to sign them out specifically and come through me." And so I think really what Audentior is doing here, he's learning about the requirements of doing research in the library. Basically, in this on this day, he's trying to do this research but isn't really able to get any progress because this Ardent wants to make sure that he follows the proper sort of procedures for caring for the books that are available. Things like maybe not using a lantern rather than candles. Things like making sure that on books that are a certain age, maybe they don't touch the pages directly. You have to use a page turn or something like that. I don't think it's too necessary to get into the details on that, but basically that's the interruption that's happening with this Ardent. So that's the second day sort of down. It was a hindrance to him completing this issue that he wanted, that he's researching. So on day 3, we're going to do the same thing with this die. And since we got a black face, it doesn't have, he's able to research normally like he wanted to. So he still has advantage on getting pointed in the right direction for the primary texts. And we have a DC 15 towards succeeding at that. Is that cocked? No, it's not. Okay. With a 2 plus 2, 4, he does not succeed. So day 3 basically goes by. He tries to research and doesn't really have any progress. Day 4, again a DC 15. A 12 does not succeed with a total of 14. Oh, wait, he gets advantage. Okay, my bad. So that second roll was still day 3. Yes. That was the second roll of day 3 because he has advantage because the priests told them where to go. So now we're on day 4. 11 for a 13. No. Oh, but a natural 20. Okay. So on day 4 has a success, but it's a natural 20, a sort of a crit success. Let's just call it. Do we want to treat it like a crit success? Actually, that's the question. Because it's really only attacks that have that kind of critical, right? This is the kind of thing where, I don't know, it might be fun to have it like a critical success, but I don't know if that's necessary. So that's why I want to ask the Oracle for this type of question about how to handle these situations. Oh, so not only is it did we get a yes response, but 2 of the yeses have exclamation points, so that's an exceptional yes. So yes, on this quest system, a 20 is a crit to your progress, your ability to progress on whatever it is you're doing for the quest. So because of that, what we're going to do is represent that by, he's going to roll twice for the D4. So we got a 1 and a 3. So we get 4 more success hashes, success marks towards having progress on the primary text. And based off of the DC 22, we now have a 17 or 7 points marked off of that DC. So at the end of day 4, where I think with that, I think day 4, he's found something. He's found a couple items now. A text from the first day pointed towards the text that he finally found on the 4th day, and it talks directly about, what information, where to find it for the primary, for the mystery of the shards. And I think one thing that would be fun with this is we're going to now find the name of the text using these random cards. What I do here is basically I'm going to roll specific numbers, and then I'm going to take individual syllables from those words in order to form, hopefully, an interesting name for the text. So we've got burn, ambitious, and race. So I think I'm going to take the A. It's going to be the name of the book is going to be the Annals of Burbish. Burbish? Burbisham. The Annals of Burbisham, which describe something about the mystery of the shards. So now that we have the name of that text, we get to do the roll that's the DC 15 because it's 22 minus 7 to see if, is this the primary text that's all we need for this time? With a 5 plus 2, it's not going to be. So now we are on, that's completing day 4. So we have some success in here, but this, I think, it seems like this is going to reference other texts, and we're going to need more information. So day 5, we have an 11. Oh, hold on. First thing, I forgot this again. So no, we didn't have any sort of interrupt or augmented scene. With an 11, plus 2, 13 does not succeed. A 4 also does not succeed. So day 5 goes by without incident. And then now, Audentior was researching 6 days before Chain came to the temple. He arrived and was consulted by the priest 6 days before. So I think we are going to roll the neutral die, because it could be that Chain coming is the interrupt or is the augmented thing that happens. But let's see. He's just going to go continue researching. And yes, so he's actually on this day actually, because it's the gold text. We have a augmented scene for the 6th day when he is researching. And I think how that's going to be augmented, there's a couple. If you don't have a obvious way to augment something like this, you can roll on the random event cards. But because I think, because we sort of know as the DM what's going to be happening with Chain, what I'm going to say is that this day he doesn't have advantage on his research because it's going to be cut short at when one of the priests comes and contacts him about the fact that someone else came to the temple with the same kind of questions that he had almost a week ago. So he's still doing research today, but because it's cut short a little bit, he doesn't have advantage. Yes, we already did that. I got a 4. So he does not make any progress on research, but one of the priests comes to him and notifies him that someone else is asking the same sorts of questions that he was looking for information on. And so that is going to, I think, end this sort of process that we have. And the next expected scene is going to be, I think, so Chain's visit has already happened. He already met with the priests. And now this next Chain, so Chain is left, but then he's going to be coming back to the temple later. I'll review my notes for that. But I think the way this is going to work is essentially Audentior finds out about Chain after Chain has already left, and so he's leaving to chase after him essentially. And so I think the thing that makes the most sense is the next scene, the expected scene, is Chain leaving the temple. And remember, one of the things that we determined is that the pirates saw him going into the temple, so he's likely to get waylaid when he leaves. So the next expected scene, the scene that's going to be scene 8, is going to be revisiting Chain, see what happens after he leaves the temple to Saint Taragnus in Rizar. So thanks for watching. I know this is sort of a strange type of session to be going through because it's not exactly straightforward, and there's a lot of sort of self-discovery and figuring out how to handle this sort of situation. But I think we handled it in an interesting way. We sort of found some information about this issue or about this topic, and then now we get to move forward with returning to one of our other characters. So we'll catch you next time.